Welcome to this Arnall-Culliford knitwear tutorial on the tubular cast-off method. This video is part of our Boost Your Knitting series, 12 projects designed to teach you 12 new techniques from the world's best knitting designers. If you'd like to find out more about Boost Your Knitting or purchase kits or yarn to go with the projects in the book, then do click the link up here which will take you over to our website. This is Carol Feller's flying leaf scarf, and it uses an Italian two-colour cast on at the cast on edge and then a tubular cast off at the other end, which makes a perfectly balanced and matching edge for the project. I'm going to show you how to use the tubular cast off method in this video tutorial. Going to show you how to work the tubular cast off method on this sample of brioche knitting. I've just completed both passes on the dark side of the fabric, and I've trimmed the dark yarn, just leaving a tail long enough to weave in later. And then I've cut the light coloured yarn so that my tail is 3 to 4 times as long as the stretch of work that I have to cast off. If you're working a very long cast off edge like you will be in the flying leaves scarf, then you'll probably need to join in another length of yarn as you go, because it'll be too unwieldy to use one length of yarn for the whole thing. So we're on the light side of the fabric and we've got a knit stitch column at the edge followed by a purl stitch column. Because this is brioche knitting, we have some stitches which have a yarn over them. Those 2 strands of yarn are classed as one stitch, so in the same way as you would brioche knit them together when you're working brioche, you will be grafting them together as if they were one here as well. So having thread our needle with our light coloured yarn, we need to do our setup steps before we begin our work. And we do that by passing the tapestry needle purlwise through the first stitch on the needle. And then we take the yarn to the back, the needle to the back, and we come in between the first and second stitches on the needles. This one's a bit loose on the end here, so I'm going to give it a bit of a tug. There we go, snug it up a bit. And then we've come between those 2 stitches and we're going to go knitwise through the second stitch on the needle. So what happens when you work a tubular cast off is that you're basically grafting together the knit stitches with the purl stitches. So when you do the toe of a sock, you would have all of the knit stitches on your front needle and all of the purl stitches on your rear needle. In this situation, you have them alternating, and so you're doing the same process, and it really helped me to keep that in my head, but you've got all your stitches on one needle. So we've done the setup steps where we went purlwise and left on the first stitch. We then brought the yarn to the front between those 2 stitches and went knitwise through the second stitch, again leaving it on the needles. And now we can start our basic rhythm. Our basic rhythm for this cast off is the same as it is for grafting, and I like to remember it by saying to myself, knit, slip, purl, purl, slip, knit. Let me show you how that works on this. So we're going to take our tapestry needle knitwise through the first stitch and slip it off the needles. That's our knit slip. And then we're going to go purlwise, but we're going purlwise through the next knit stitch. So that's actually the second stitch on our needles. Always keep your yarn at the front of your work, so it's not getting tangled up on everything. So that was our knit, slip off, purl, and now we're going to go purl, slip, knit. So through the first stitch on the needles purlwise and slip it off. And when we're going through the second stitch knitwise, we can't just come around the front and do that because we'll end up with strands of yarn everywhere. That's where we need to do this clever between the first and second stitches, and then we go knitwise through that second stitch, because we're working on the purl column here. And now we repeat it again. So it's knit, slip, purl. That's worked on the knit stitches that we can see. So knit wise through there and slip off. And then purl-wise through the next knit column stitch, which is here. And now we're going to do purl, slip, knit on the purl column stitches. So the first stitch is purl-wise and slip off. And this is where we have our clever thing. We can't just go knitwise through that second stitch because we'll end up with a mess. So we come from back to front between the two stitches, and then we go knitwise through the second stitch on the needles. Okay, and so we repeat that process as we go along the row. Knit, slip, purl. Purl, slip, and we can't just go knitwise, we have to come from back to front between the first two stitches, and then we can go knitwise through the second stitch on the needles. Knit, slip, purl. Purl, slip, knit. Once you've worked a section of stitches, just have a look at how they're sitting and just see if they need any kind of tightening up or loosening or anything. It's better to do them in a section as you go along rather than have to pull through lots at the end. And definitely don't over tighten. It's much easier to go along and tighten them up a little than it is to loosen them off. And we're going to carry on working across our row with the same pattern. Knit, slip, purl. The second part, the purl bit, is on the second stitch, and then purl, slip, come through between and knitwise through the second stitch. Knit, slip, purl. That bit's much easier, isn't it? Purl, slip, knit. So I've continued to work knit, slip, purl, purl, slip, knit across the row, and now I've got 3 stitches remaining. So I'm going to do knit, slip, purl on that one, and now purl, slip. There's nothing remaining to go through knitwise, that's fine. And then a knit, slip to complete that last stitch. When you come to the end of the row, you just do the sections that you can do, and if there isn't a stitch remaining on the end to do it, you just move on to the next step to complete your cast off edge. And as you can see, that's basically grafted together the knit and purl columns, which leaves it looking just like the Italian 2-colour cast on edge that we used at the start of the project. You can use this tubular cast off on any ribbed project to join together the knit and purl columns neatly, But if you'd like it to totally match a tubular cast on edge, then you may need to work a couple of setup rows. And if you Google how to do that, you'll find that with no problem, I'm sure. Thank you for watching our video tutorial on the tubular cast-off method. I hope that you'll find it useful and you'll be able to use it in other projects beyond just brioche knitting. It works really well on 1x1 rib cuffs on toe-up socks, for example, as well. If you'd like to find out more about Boost Your Knitting, do click the link up here to visit our website, where you can purchase the book and also kits and yarns to go with each of the projects. To be sure of not missing our next video tutorial, then do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jen A.C. Knitwear. Thanks ever so much for watching.